Hey everybody, this is Ms. Dorn back with another video, and today we're going to talk all about fractions. We're going to be learning all about fractions. Go get your pens, your pencils, your notebooks, and notebook paper, whatever you need to take notes, and let's get started. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe. Excuse me. Teachers need encouragement too, so we can encourage each other. Very good. Parents, very good. You can have the students stop the video, pause the video anytime they need to so that they can take their notes. Okay, fractions. Okay, what's the big idea here? So we're going to put big idea. What is the big idea with these fractions? What are fractions? Okay, so the big idea is that fractions are part of a whole. Okay, that is our big idea here. Fractions are tiny pieces, okay? Pieces that are part of a whole. One whole object, one whole thing, one whole number. So let's get ready to write it. And don't forget that you can pause the video as much as you need to, rewatch the video as much as you need to, so that you are able to grasp the concepts, okay? So fractions are parts or pieces of a whole. It can be a whole shape, a whole number, a whole candy bar that you break into pieces. But the big idea here is that fractions are parts or pieces of a whole. Okay? I want you to write that down. Very good. Good job. I want you to think of fractions as smaller than the number 1. Okay? So fractions are smaller than the number 1. Because there are parts or pieces of a whole number that makes them smaller than the number 1. This is the symbol for number. Okay? Go ahead, make sure you write that down. Okay? So far, we've seen fractions in fraction model form, right? So we have fractions, circular models, and then you may have a shaded piece in. Try to shade that in for you. This represents 1/4 because this is one piece shaded in of the 4 entire whole. So there takes 4 pieces to make up the whole shape, and then one piece is shaded in. So this representation would be a circular representation of 1/4. Okay? 1/4. Now you see fractions written with a number at the top and a number at the bottom. Okay? The number at the top is called a numerator. Okay? Number there. The number at the bottom is called a denominator. Very good. Numerator and denominator. That's your math language. Okay? Now, so far you've thought of fractions like this. Like I've showed you here. Okay? Now we're in 5th grade and getting older. We want you to start conceptualizing fractions in a different way. Okay? Now, fractions can be considered division. Fractions can also be considered decimals, and we'll talk about it for a second. So I want you to start looking at fractions. Let me grab a pen. Fractions as division. And I'll write it down. And we're also going to learn about fractions being considered decimals. Because decimals are a piece of a whole. Okay? All right, make sure you take notes. If you need to pause the video, pause it here, take your notes, and then hit play. Or if you need to rewatch the video, don't forget you can rewatch the video. Okay? I'm going to try to move the screen up. Here we go. There we go. And let's talk more about fractions being division. The symbol from fractions really comes from division symbol. You all ever seen a division symbol look like this? Yeah, this represents a fraction. Okay. The top dot represents the numerator. The bottom dot represents the denominator. And you all know that this is your fraction line. So, the top dot is any number that represents the numerator. So let's choose a number 2. Our fraction line, 4. So fractions are actually, mathematicians really meant fractions to be represented as division, okay? Fractions are division, okay? Division gives you parts or pieces. Let's look at it. When you are considering fractions as division, the top number is considered to be the dividend. It goes inside of the division line and a division symbol. The bottom number, the denominator, is considered to be the divisor. That goes on the outside. So 2 divided by 4, or 4 divided into 2, however you conceptualize it. Very good. Okay, so let's go ahead and work it out since we have problem set up. All right, we already know that 4 can't divide into 2, so we'll need to add a decimal. And when we add decimals in long division, you are able to add a 0. Don't forget, with decimals, long division with decimals, you have to divide all the way out until the remainder is 0. And if you need help with that, look in my videos. I definitely probably have a video for long division and long division with decimals. All right. Order of operation for division: divide. There's their fraction symbol again. Multiply, subtract, bring down. Okay. 4 divides into to 2 one time. Now, if you get 0 for the first division attempt, you get to go to the first 2 numbers. Now we can use 20. 4 divides into 20. I'm sorry, I didn't move my decimal up. 4 divides into 20 5 times. 5 times 4 equals 20. And you know, when down here we subtract. 20 minus 20 equals 0. So the answer, 2/4 equals 0.5. Fraction as division, fractions also as decimals. So when you get in upper grades, fractions can be considered division, and fractions also represent decimals. I want you to try to remember that, and we're going to work with that a lot more this year, okay? Fractions division, and fractions can be considered as decimals. Let's talk about the different types of fractions. Different types of fractions. Ms. Durham, move the page up. Very good. Uh-oh. They moved my page back down. Hold on, let me see if I can. There we go. Oh, here we'll just have to keep going, everybody, all right? Different types of fractions. So we'll put types of fractions. First one is a proper fraction. Proper fraction. Let's think about what proper fraction means. What does the word proper mean? Proper means right, the right way to do things, okay? Proper fractions are the right way to write fractions. So if the numerator is smaller than the denominator, this is a proper fraction. So if this number is smaller than the bottom number, or the bottom number should be larger, this will be considered a proper fraction. Now, it doesn't just have to be the number 1 at the top. You can have 2/4. The numerator is smaller than the denominator, so that would be considered a proper fraction. Go ahead and try to come up with a proper fraction on your own. I came up with one. What about 3/5? Is the numerator smaller than the denominator? Yes, very good. So that means this is a proper fraction. The next type of fraction that I want us to learn would be an improper fraction. Improper fraction. And I'll write it. Improper fractions, you all, are the opposite of proper fractions, okay? So if a proper fraction is where the numerator is smaller than the denominator, an improper fraction is where the numerator is larger than the denominator, okay? So I'll make sure I write it here. You all can pause and take notes. And the denominator would be smaller. Improper fraction can be any fraction as long as the numerator is larger than the denominator. 10/3. The numerator is larger than the denominator here. What about 4/5? That is not an improper fraction. That's a proper fraction because the numerator is smaller than the denominator. What about 12/6? That's an improper fraction. Okay, you got that? Very good. The next type of fraction you all need to know is an mixed number. We'll talk about why I call it this. Mixed number. Mixed numbers look like this. They call them mixed numbers because sweetie pies, honey bunches of oats, they're mixed with two types of numbers here. You have a whole number. Let me grab a pen. It's a symbol for number plus a fraction. In this particular example, the number 2 would be considered your whole number, and then 1/4 would be considered your fraction. Okay, that makes this a mixed number, right? 2 and 1/4. Let's think of another example for a mixed number. What about 3? Let me grab a pen. 3 and 7/8. That's a mixed number because we have a whole number plus a fraction. Very good. All right, now last concept for today. I'm going to talk about equivalent fractions. Okay, equivalent fractions. Let's use green. Very good. Equivalent fractions. What does that word equivalent sound like? Equal, equivalent. Equivalent sounds like equal, equivalence. Yeah, equal is the root word there, okay? Equivalent fractions are fractions that are equal to each other, okay? Equal fractions. Sometimes you have fractions that look the same. That look different, but they really mean the same, okay? Let's take the example 3/6. 3/6 is equivalent to 1/2 because 3 is half of 6. So let me draw it out for you so you can get a better understanding, okay? Uh-oh, I didn't mean to do that. Here we go. So let's draw two representations of 3, one for 3/6 and a representation model for fraction 1/2, okay? So I want you to draw two rectangles on your paper. Try to make them the same size. Just try. Now let's represent 3/6. This really means that I have 6 pieces that make up the whole shape because our denominator is 6. 6 pieces that make up the whole shape. So let's divide our first rectangle into 6 parts. If we go straight down the middle, that gives us 2. And now if we divide those 2 into 2 equal pieces straight down the middle. Uh-oh, I meant to do 3 on each side. Hold on, Mr. I made a mistake. Mistakes are great. Means you're paying attention, especially if you catch them. I have 2 pieces here now. I need to make 3 on each side. That gives us 6. So I'll divide each piece into 3. Now, because our numerator is 3, we have to shade in 3 of those pieces. So let's use green. Okay. This is 1 shaded piece, 2, and 3. So that equals 3/6. Now let's represent 1/2 on the other fraction model. Okay. 1/2 means that the whole entire shape is divided into 2 pieces. 2 pieces make up the whole, and that we should shade in one of those pieces represented by the numerator. Okay. So let me grab a marker here. If 2 parts make up the whole, we only have to separate our fraction model in half. Okay, we have 2 parts, 1, 2. Now, because the numerator is 1, we have to shade in one of those parts. So let's shade it in. Very good. Now, this is where equivalent fractions come in, because 3/6 is the same length as 1/2. That makes these 2 fractions equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions. Because they're about the same length here. Equivalent fractions. Now, if we had 4/6 equals 1/2, that wouldn't be true. Because if I shade in one more of the squares, that represents 4/6, 4 of the 6 squares. 4/6 is a lot longer than 1/2. You see how 4/6 stops here? 1/2 stops here. Okay, so 4/6 is longer than 1/2. Now let me see if they'll let me take it back and erase. Yes. But since our fraction was 3/6, 3/6 is about the same length as 1/2. So that equals equivalent fractions. All right, there you go. Today we learned about fractions. We learned about the parts and math language of fractions. We learned about different types of fractions. In my next video, I'm going to talk about how to multiply and divide fractions. So I'll see you all in the next video. If you think this video will help somebody, share it with somebody, parents, teachers, students. I am here to help. Anything that you need as far as teaching and math is concerned, Ms. Dorm is here. All you have to do is ask. I love everybody. I'll see you in the next video.